Good morning. I just finished recording this, but I really want to take a moment while my husband's out getting groceries to talk about the trilogy I just finished because I feel like I got a lot to say. Here is the three of them. The first one is The Power of Hades, and it's The Passion of Hades, The Promise of Hades by Eliza, Raine, and Rose Wilson. And excuse my unpreparedness. I gotta check my planner real quick. So I'm gonna leave this open off screen just so I remember what the heck I want to talk about. So this first book, let me get you all sorted right. I don't know, moved everywhere. So this first book I picked up because Goodreads had it listed as an adult fantasy romance, and I was in the mood to read an adult fantasy romance that ain't really focused on the plot, if you know what I mean. So I go and I pick it up, not expecting much, just expecting a lot of adult content, and turns out there's an actual plot here. Well, since I wasn't looking for a plot, the fact that it had one blew my mind. Simple as that. And I go and I just start devouring this book out of nowhere. There wasn't a lot of romance in here. I mean, it is still for adults. There are still, or adults for mature readers, I should say, just to be more specific. Because there is still a lot of, I don't know, they don't go at it, but you could tell they really want to. Especially near, like, the last bit of the book. So I think I read this in 3 days. It ain't, let's see, it's only 191 pages. That's not too bad since I tend to read real quick. I devour books that I need them to, I need them to live. So that's what this one had. And when I knew there was the Hades Trials book 1, let me get some water. I'm starting to wake up while talking to y'all. Since I knew it was a book 1, I knew that there was more, so I kind of just came in here prepping for another adult series. And like I said, I think what I say in my Hobonichi, I could probably sneak it all in for you. Right there. I have those right here. So since my expectations going in weren't for a plot, the fact that there was one at all meant that I found it really good. My plot standards were like bottom of the barrel expectations. That didn't happen. Me happy, basically. Yeah, so when I finished this book in 3 days, I went back to the second one, which is called The Passion of Hades. And I read that in, maybe 3 days. I started it the same night I finished book 1, read a few pages, and then barreled through the book in 2 days. It kept going. The plot is consistent. The characters are consistent. And the fact that they're using the old Persephone and Hades myth, but kind of giving it their own twist. Now, granted, I say it's unique, but I also don't read a lot of books inspired from Greek mythology. So I don't have a lot of books like this under my belt, so I don't know if it actually is unique. I just like it. That's where I stand. So they kept the characters consistent. There we go. They kept the characters consistent in this book, as best they could while keeping to the story, because it has to do with fork, I'll spoil it. Spoiler warning, I guess. I'll give y'all a little bit to leave if you don't like spoilers. Let me see if I can fit spoiler in another sentence right now, so you know that there are spoilers ahead. Tired of hearing spoilers yet? Sorry, I was cleaning up my desk. Alright, so in the first book, Zeus kidnaps Persephone from the mortal world. She was on her way to basically get, I don't know, kind of interview thing for a garden thing. But Zeus kidnaps her because Hades angers Zeus lately, and Zeus is over here like, alright, fork y'all, he gotta marry someone then. And then y'all gotta go through these trials to be the wife of Hades, the queen of the underworld. Comes with immortality and blah blah blah. So because Persephone and Hades were married before this, but something happened, and Persephone chose to drink from the river Lyth, I think it's called, and lose her memory. She ain't know none of that. But he just really wanted to see the pain of Hades having to fork a loser again. And so the first book kind of goes through that. Persephone is scared crapless of Hades because he's a man of death and corpses and all of that in his natural power, blah blah blah. And she loves growing things. She's nature. She turns out, you find out in the end of book 2-ish that she's the goddess of spring, and she just had a whole bunch of nonsense happen. That made sense. They probably still had to stick to a myth I know too well. A whole bunch of stuff happened to her that's very Greek mythology, and so she ended up accidentally killing a lot of people. Like, she brought a volcano up from some energy she had, and it rained down and killed quite a few people. And she was horror-struck over that. Drake from River Lyth went to the mortal world and just forgot everything. So she starts gaining her powers back as she goes through these trials, which almost dang near kill her every time. And as she is kind of in here again, she's figuring out who she used to have as a friend, and she's starting to feel that, it's a Fate of May story. You gotta have some kind of pulled together romance, not as natural as in real life would happen, but she felt that bond with Hades to where she was genuinely attracted to him, and realizing he ain't just a man full of corpse and death and all that. And in the second book, they start to get together a lot more, realize that they have more in common, they're more on the same page, even without her old memories, because there's a lot of talk in my throat's gonna hurt after this, because of just her spending time more around him and going through the trials and all that. At first she wanted to survive the trials but lose them so she'd go back to New York. But the more, let me get some water again. Whew. Poor little throat ain't meant for all this. Whew. But the more she started to go through the trials, and the more she started to interact with Hades, the more she, didn't want to lose him. So, excuse me. So this book is kind of the turning point of their relationship, where she's over here like, nah, fork Hades, I don't like him that much, but it's weird that I do kind of like him, to a, you know what? Having powers and this whole Olympus thing is pretty sweet. And if I win the trials, I at least get a chance and a time to think and a time to choose what's going on. That was her thinking. So she's like, alright, yeah, maybe I kind of do want to win. Then near the end of the book, when more interactions with Hades are around, and she's kind of just more accustomed to the tomfoolery that is Olympus, she is leaning towards winning to actually win. But still kind of uncertain, so still giving herself that option to think and consider it. And then this book, oh look, even told me, I finished this book yesterday. I read 2 pages on January 7th when I finished the second book. Then I forgot that I read the 2 pages yesterday morning, and just barreled through this book from cover to cover in, what was it, about 3.5 hours? It's not too bad. I was eating the time I was taking breaks, focusing on reading so much tends to hurt my eyes, so I was doing my best to not give myself a migraine because I couldn't put the book down, but, you know, it is what it is. I only got a headache instead, which I'll take that as a win. If you could hear some shuffles behind me, Sunshine is just having a ball under my chair and just galloping around the house. Going back to this book, though, this is the one where she realizes she does want to win the trials, and my husband home from grocery shopping, so I'm gonna have to cut this. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I'll wrap this up quick. I'm sorry if you could hear some background noise. This is a small apartment, and well, if someone else is here and doing things, you're likely to hear it. He's cleaning up right now. And Sunshine, my cat, still going wild underneath my chair. It's a rolly chair. I heard her tell you. Oh, she ran away. That's good. So this book kind of, Persephone, as she's going along these trials, gets powers, and she's gaining them real slowly, learning how to kind of control for them, and they're really helping her out in these trials. So as this is going on, she's kind of coming into herself more. She's learning strength of her own more, and that plus just being around Hades and just the short memories those recall, even though she drank from the river Lymph, like their bond, their connection, like when you, apparently in the story, when you get married to an Olympian, it's like it's a special thing. It's a bond, you know. They always, Fate and May stories always got this weird bond going on where you could feel them at any time or whatever have you and all that. So they got that going on. I kind of forgive that for the sake of forgiving it. And she kind of grows more into it, and they grow more into their relationship and just into their dynamic going on. And this book has a lot more adult scenes in it. Which is, you know, what I came into the series originally for, but it was just a pleasant touch of adult for the story overall, which I really enjoyed. Definitely not for young or mature eyes. There was a hiccup, excuse me. So overall, I like this. I like how it ended, and I do know there are. Let's see if it'll help. Let me do this. If I go home. My library, did I get it yet? I must not have gotten it yet. But there is a will it pull it up automatically? Hell no. Alright, well, let's put this down. There is a trilogy based on in the same world that's based a timeline after the Hades trials, called the Ares trials, and I think it follows the same general plot. So we'll see if I like it again a second time now that I kind of know what I'm getting into. My expectations were bottom of the barrel low. They beat them. I loved it. Simple as that. And I think that really influences why I loved it so much. But we'll see. I do plan to read the other three. I'm going to give myself like a day or two break from reading just so I don't strain my eyes and give myself a headache again. My eyes tend to be real sensitive. So we'll see there. And that's it. This is my little overview. I did give all three books 5 stars, which is rare for me, but how I came into the series with such low expectations for an adult book, that I think that really influenced it there. I think if I went into it knowing what to expect, then I would give it maybe a solid 4, just because they did stay real consistent with everything they had here, and even with the whole memory thing of Persephone, or Percy as she liked to be called, P-E-R-S-Y, not P-E-R-C-Y. I don't know if that matters to some of y'all, but the memory issues Persephone had in this really tend to really make it hard to keep a character consistent, or sometimes it's easy, sometimes it ain't. And for this, it was either easy for them or they made sure to keep her consistent enough. And everyone in there was pretty consistent, especially when you work with the Greek myths. They could be all over the place, and sometimes they make no sense, or little sense, at least from a modern day character perspective. So I think they did really good with what they wanted to do. So I give them 4 stars if you know what you're expecting, or if you went in blind, not expecting much of a plot, like I did, 5. I think critically, just overall, I might drop it down to 3.5 if you want me to be the same critic I normally am with books, which this is only episode 2. I don't really rate too many books with you, just because of the speed and dynamic of it. I do like natural romances a lot more, and I would have loved to see a more natural increase between the two of them, between Persephone and Hades, other than their former marriage bond relighting and just kind of carrying the romance in the right direction. Because they would have been heading there on their own without the bond. Entirely, anyways, with the way this was written. So it could have been done more naturally, and it could have felt more plausible without all the fantasy hocus pocus we all get in stuff like this. But given that they did want to implement the Fate of Mace thing, which is quite popular, I will admit, I can't I can't poo-poo them on that. So personally, I'd give them a touch over 3.5, probably around a 3.7 if you want to be like ultra picky. But my Goodreads rating, yeah, just playing with the shadow. Alright. My Goodreads rating will stay 5 stars just because of how I came into this book series, and my expectations versus what I actually had. So that's it. I'll see y'all later. I'm sorry about the background noise if y'all can hear it. I don't know what it can and can't pick up. I tried doing a little test recording to see what y'all can hear, but since I got the background noise actively happening, couldn't tell what was in the video and what was in real life. So hopefully this ain't too disturbing. I'll stitch these together and upload them in a second, probably later on today. Not too long from today now. I hope y'all are well. I hope y'all are, let's have a book themed goodbye, huh? I hope y'all enjoy whatever book you're reading, or that you're able to pick up a book you enjoy. And I will see y'all later. Bye.